Hello and welcome back to Is That Brandon Sharing Thoughts, the podcast, which is currently on YouTube. So for today's blog, it's not a blog, is it? It's a podcast. So for today's podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about Eurovision 2026, my opinions, my reviews, and kind of my overall vibe for the show as well. So it was in Vienna, which is obviously in Austria, as they were the previous winners last year with JJ's Wasted Love. I also realised after the performance that JJ was also on The Voice UK, so I think he performed on the UK before he actually ended up being selected for Eurovision. And I think even just before I get into the reviews for the countries, there were already a few people representing different countries who already had kind of a bit of a background. So I know when Graham Norton announces the country and the person nominated to perform for their country, there was a couple of influencers and a couple of musicians who were known in their countries with this many million of followers or this many thousands of followers. You even had Cyprus, their representative was actually one of the girls from Love Island UK. Our representative, the guy representing the UK, I don't think he has any experience of performing or being on stage or anything like that, but he was just a likeable character, and I think, however he ended up getting chosen was just like probably how nice he was as a person or how genuine he came across, and I think that's probably why he got picked. I've always said that if there was ever any show that I would absolutely love to do, I would love to do Eurovision, because I have applied for so many shows. Like, there's so many shows in the past where I have applied and I've just not been accepted for them. I've applied for Love Island, I've applied for Take Me Out before, when that was a thing. I actually applied for things like Tipping Point and The Chase. I got accepted on The Chase, but I wasn't even in the right town, so that wasn't possible. Then they expected me to travel from uni back up to London within 24 hours, and I had lectures, so that wasn't going to happen. So I got accepted for that. I just couldn't make the auditions. I also applied for the Sex Clinic, but again, just at the time, I was a university student. I wasn't really interested in talking about my body or, how things did and didn't work. It wasn't really for me. But again, I got accepted for that. And then just loads of quiz shows. Like, I know my dad's been on TV, my best mate's been on TV. So, people have had the little delve of being on things and being in the spotlight. My cousin's, she was one of the queens in a musical. My other friend is like a radio presenter. She's gone into like documentaries and stuff. So I think that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people in the industry, and I know a lot of people that have made names for themselves. But I think I've always just wanted to make a name for myself. Like, I don't care about being famous. I don't care about having money. I would just care about, having people listen to me, having genuine, real friends, being financially stable and not having to worry, can I spend a tenner on this? Can I spend 15 quid on that? It's just almost like you got millions, do what you want kind of thing. So, but anyway, let's get back to Eurovision, and let's stop delving away from the subject. But Eurovision 2027 in Bulgaria, if you fancy me representing the UK, then just ask. I'm free. So at the beginning of the episode, we found out that we had the ORF Radio Supply. No, they're not the RF Radio Supply. The ORF Radio Symphony Orchestra. They were performing, and that was hosted from Vienna, with the lead of that called Martin Gallagher or Gellner. And then JJ, the 2025 winner, performed his single Wasted Love from the previous year. I think the hosts were Victoria Swarovski, who obviously is one of the heirs to the leader of that massive company, and Michael Orzowski, who I think was gay, but very interesting fashion sense, very like camp as well. But yeah, I think they're just, even what Graham Norton said, the two of them together, or the two of them individually, were incredible. Like, they're great people in their own ways, but together they didn't quite click. But I think it was still quite funny. I think they did an amazing job, and both of them absolutely looked beautiful. Like, their fashion for the night was gorgeous. And we found out that there were only 25 countries that got through. So I think you had 5 or 6 countries that had withdrawn because they weren't going to show Eurovision. They either were out of the competition anyway, or they just didn't want to get involved. They were boycotting due to the whole Israel situation. And then I think you had other countries that just didn't actually end up making it through, with countries like Spain. I think they were one of the countries that boycotted, and even someone like Boy George, who was representing, I think it was like Ireland or Moldova or whatever it was he was representing. They didn't get through either. So yeah, no, Moldova did get through, so it wasn't Moldova. I think it must have been the other one, Slovenia or Ivory Coast or something. Whatever it was, he didn't get through either. But that would have been quite interesting to have Boy George perform at Eurovision. So what I did, so this was the 70th Eurovision. I decided to do the rankings like I did, kind of similarly to last year. So I'd give out of 10 points for the song, out of 10 points for the voice, out of 10 points for the kind of dancing and performance, and then out of 10 points for the staging. And those 40 points were the total overall performance. So I think I was a lot more harsh with some of them this year than I was last year. But I think that's the thing, like each year you just kind of see a bunch of new acts, and you either follow them because you like what they do, or you don't really care because just whatever. And there's always at least one or two really good looking guys you're like, yeah, I'm going to just drop them a follow and see where we go from here. So I'm just going to quickly whiz through all 25. I'm not going to be here all day, but I think, yeah, so the first 5 we had were Denmark, Germany, Israel, Belgium, and Albania. So Denmark had an artist called Soren, and it was called For Vigor Heim. So overall, very good introduction performance. I think he kind of gave off like Maneskin vibes, bit of Shawn Mendes kind of like merged together. And I gave them a 26 out of 40. I think for me, the vocals were probably the best. And then the rest of it was just kind of, yeah, it was just kind of meh. Germany, so Sarah Engels. Again, vocals were alright, but I think it was just a bit of a safe song. I think one of the things with Eurovision is you want to be different. You want to be, unique. You want to have something that's memorable, not just a cute little ballad that, with a pretty girl or a pretty boy. Like you need something a bit more than that. Israel, so they sang a song called Noam Betan, so it sang a song called Michelle. Again, his vocals absolutely fantastic. Wasn't really much dancing, wasn't really much staging. With Belgium, so the lady was actually called Elise, and her stage name was Esila, which was the name backwards, which was really quite smart. So she sang a song called Dancing on the Ice. And again, very catchy song. She was very pretty. Everything was very white about the performance. But I think that's probably why she did so well. And then finally, you had Albania. Alice sang a song called Nan, which actually means mum in Albanian. Didn't realise that. I thought he was singing a song about someone's nan. But yeah, out of those first 5 performances, Belgium for me was the favourite one. Like I said, the girl was very interesting looking. She looked quite unique, and she literally was on the ice. Everything was just very, white and silky. And it kind of was, it was a unique performance. The next couple of performances you had was Greece. So their performer Achilles performed Furto. Forto. So again, very catchy, it was almost like it was something out of a game, and people said you were either going to love it or hate it, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I think it was very catchy and very, very good. Ukraine, so that was the girl band Lilika, which I think was alright. Just a standard group of girls having a little sing-song. And then you had Australia, so that was Delta Goodrem, and I think she was famous back in Australia. But again, vocals were absolutely incredible. The song was quite catchy. She didn't really dance, but I thought the staging was fantastic. So for me, she got quite high points. I think she, out of all of the ones so far, she got 31 out of the 40, and I think that was my second highest overall ranking. Serbia were next, and wasn't really my thing. Malta, so Aiden Kassar, he sang a song called Bella. Again, I think he went by the stage name Aiden, and from what I remember, I think this was the performance where he was kind of singing in some sort of like diamond or some sort of box or something like that. Again, fantastic vocals, good looking guy, and yeah, definitely had potential to win. It's just, I think again, it was one of the safe songs, but he did sing it so well, and such great vocals as well. Czech Republic or Czechia were next. That was Daniel Ziska. So he also had a really, really good voice. I gave him 10 for his vocals just purely because it was a guy who just had such a good range in his voice. Again, it was quite a safe song, but he just sang it so well as well. Up next was Bulgaria, so that was a song from Dara, and it was called Bangaranka. Again, very catchy. She was gorgeous. She was kind of like a Bulgarian Ariana Grande. Very pretty girl, very interesting hairstyle and things like that. And again, a very catchy song. You had Croatia, which is Lelek singing Andromeda. Again, that was alright. We were next. So it was Sam singing Eins Zwei Drei, which is 1, 2, 3 in German. So again, bringing the kind of European vibe to our English song. I gave it 28 points. It's just, his vocals weren't that great, but the staging was really interesting. You then had France. So that was Monroe singing Regard. Again, she was 17 years old. I think she was the youngest in the competition. Incredible voice. She kind of looked a bit like Northwest, but like the French version with blue eyes. She was really, really good. Again, she had long, wavy white hair. And it was just incredible how high she could sing and how loud she could sing for such a young girl. Moldova wasn't really for me. Finland, you had Linda and Pete singing together. So Linda was obviously on violin or trumpet or saxophone, whatever she was playing. And Pete was a really good-looking, sexy hunk that was obviously singing for that performance. And again, really, really good performance. It wasn't one of my top 2. But it was one of my top 15, so that's always good to kind of have your favourite songs towards the top. And then we had Poland, Alicia singing Pray. Yeah, that was a good song. Lithuania. That wasn't for me. Sweden, My System, not for me. Cyprus was Your Love Island Girl, so that was Antigone. She performed Jala for Cyprus. Again, she got 35 points out of the 40, so that was the highest. My highest scores went to Cyprus. One, purely because I probably already knew who was performing. Like I had previous knowledge of who and what they had done previously, so that usually helps. If it's just a random, I'm judging them purely on one performance and 3 minutes of their time. For me, Cyprus did well just purely because I knew already who she was. So she got 9s all aboard. And then for the actual stage, and I gave 8 just because there wasn't really much, but it was still enough. Italy was the oldest performer. So Sal Da Vinci was the oldest contestant. The performance, it was quite an old-fashioned style song. And there was good little dancing and stuff like that. But again, just vibe-wise, it didn't give Eurovision. Norway... I can't really remember that one. Romania singing Choke Me. That was a weird girl band, or a weird like emo kind of rock band, where it was almost like, I don't even, what did she say was the vibe of that? Like choke. So her mental health was almost like choking her, or you having to choke the negative energy or something like that is how she described it. It just sounds very, again, it doesn't really sound like a Eurovision song. It was just quite scary actually. And then finally Austria. So they, as the host country, went last, and they sang Tanzschien, whatever that says. That was Cosmo. Again, he had a blue little triangle or star on his face. The song was quite average, and it wasn't great. So I knew Austria weren't going to win, so we weren't going to be staying in Austria next year. But we found out that there were 1,789 songs that had been performed on Eurovision from the first day Eurovision had started. And no, I'm not going to go back and rank every single one of those songs. I think if I've been here to experience them, then that's great. If I haven't, then that's also great. And it's now, like with everything, it's just about moving forwards. So, I think I started watching Eurovision properly, probably 2016, 17, 18, kind of just before uni or through my gap year. And then over the years, we've had so many like British representatives that I've absolutely loved. You had Lucy Jones. She was from X Factor 2008 or 9. You had Remember Monday, the girl band. You had Michael Rice, who's friends with one of the mutuals that I know from another singing show. He did absolutely great. You had Mae Muller. She was fantastic. She was a British singer-songwriter anyway, and then she kind of alleviated her platform that little bit more by going on Eurovision. You had Sam Ryder, great voice. You had Look Mum No Computer from this year. So there are a few rumoured people that could be doing it next year. I think potentially Diana Vickers, X Factor, she could potentially do it. The likes of Leona Lewis, Susan Boyle, Gemma Collins, Ant and Seb. So there are quite a few rumoured people from like TV shows or people that have, had a moment who would obviously then come back and just kind of like reignite themselves on the show. But yeah, when it came to my top performances in total, so I gave Cyprus 35 out of 40, Australia 31, Bulgaria 30, Czechia and France 29, UK and Norway 28, Belgium and Malta 27, Denmark, Finland, Greece and Poland all 26. And when it came to the results, obviously my top 12 countries were Denmark, Israel, Belgium, Ukraine, Australia, Malta, Czechia, Bulgaria, France, Finland, Poland and Cyprus. So as long as one of those 12 countries won, I was absolutely fine. And it turned out that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them ended up being in the top 12. So when we started announcing the votes from the public, the UK didn't really get many votes. And in the end, we only ended up getting one vote. So I think one country gave us one vote, and we didn't get any votes from the audience, public votes. So we ended up on a total of 1 point, and we came 25th, which was not great. And then as we kind of went up the rankings, you saw Austria go out. So they came second last, which wasn't great as the host country. Germany, Lithuania. Very surprised that Belgium only came 21st. Again, it was a very good song. I just don't know why people didn't resonate with it. You then had Cyprus, they came 19th. You had Czechia, they came 16th. Malta, 18th. So they were all the kind of countries that didn't quite make the top 12. And then as you got into the top 12, so you had Poland in 12th. So again, that was a really, really good song. France was 11th. That was the young 17-year-old girl. 10th, you had Greece. That was the love-hate song. Obviously, people seemed to love it, but it wasn't good enough to make top 5. Ukraine at number 9, I think it was just a bit of a safe song. Moldova at 8. Denmark at number 7, he was the first performance, so he's the first performance people are going to forget. Finland at 6, Italy at 5, Australia at 4, so even though she had a massive presence and a massive popularity back in Australia, she didn't do quite enough to get to the top 3. Romania came third, Israel came second, and it was Bulgaria who took the spots. That was Dawa with Ranga Ranga or Bangaranga, which I don't even to this point don't even know what Bangaranga what it means, but very catchy. I mean, it's still in my head literally a week after the show has been on, so she must be doing something right. And I think she's 27 or 28, so she's still quite young. She's obviously at the beginning of her music career, and she must have already been doing music stuff in her country for them to go, she's the girl we want to perform for us. And so she's going to obviously go on to do amazing things now, and she'll be able to crown whoever the winner is next year in Bulgaria when we go to Bulgaria next year. So yeah, like I said, this was an episode all about Eurovision. I've absolutely loved Eurovision over the years. It's just that one show that you either hate it or love it. It's obviously very political in terms of the countries that are next to each other are going to more likely vote each other, but it's also interesting to see who the kind of celebrities are that either perform on the show, ex-Eurovision contestants, and then also the people in the juries who kind of go and our 12 points go to, like, to see who represents us in each of the countries. So I think we had Amanda Holden do it once. I think we've had Alan Carr do it. I think we've obviously had a drag queen do it this year. So yeah, it's just interesting to see who does the jury part. So yeah, with all that said and done, that is my review for Eurovision. Like I said, a lot of very, very good songs. A lot of songs I'm just going to completely forget, but like I said, my favourite countries were your Denmark, Israel, Belgium, Ukraine, Australia, Malta, Czechia, Bulgaria, France, Finland, Poland and Cyprus, along with probably a few others. But yeah, once again, the UK didn't end up on 0. I think a couple of years ago we came second to Israel, Ukraine, but I think this year it's not that we didn't even have a good song. I think it's just because there were so many other songs that were so much better, and maybe people don't align with our politics, or they just didn't see us as a good song. They just bothered giving points elsewhere as opposed to us. So yeah, that is it for my podcast episode today. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, chat and subscribe. And until my next episode, with or without guests, don't forget to stay tuned. And until then, thank you for listening and goodbye.